Verse 14. Then Abimelech took sheep, oxen, and male and female servants and gave them to Abraham, and he restored Sarah, his wife, to him. So here we got Abraham is getting richer off of a mistake that was not, it wasn't Abimelech's fault, but yet he's making restitution, so to speak, and causing Abraham to become richer. He's got more servants, more cattle, more whatever that he had given him. Yeah. And Abimelech said, "See, my land is before you. Dwell where it pleases you." Then to Sarah he said, "Behold, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces." I just realized he called him her brother. "I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Indeed, this vindicates you before all who are with you and before everybody." Thus she was rebuked. So he did this in the view of everyone to help them understand what's going on here. And we had talked about this extensively, about the vindicate and the rebuke. And like I said, I just realized that he said, "Behold, I have given you a brother." Now he's referring him to her as her brother, and that's kind of odd.
Yeah.
I guess that's just showing that he understands what they're talking about, brother and sister. But I really don't understand why that was said that way.
When he says it like that, I just can't help but imagine him going, "Your brother," air quotes and all. But
Wink, wink.
You perverts. But
Yeah.
But all joking aside.
So when we discussed 1,000 pieces of silver, the vindication and the rebuke, why don't you carry that?
Yeah, so before I get to that, Abimelech understands that he needs to not only make it right with God, but he also needs to make it right with Abimelech or Abraham and Sarah also. And oftentimes we are tempted in our own lives to, when we've done something wrong, just ask forgiveness from God and not address the issue with a person that we wronged or had a disagreement with or whatever. And there's a important lesson in this. Even today there's certain cultures that I won't name that say God will forgive anyone who repents of any sins they committed against him, but he does not forgive the sins committed against others. To get forgiveness for those, you have to go to that person. And hearing that growing up from the culture that I heard it in always grinded my gears. But I have to give them their props, because even Jesus says the same thing in a roundabout way. In Matthew 5 verses 23 and 24, he says, and I'm just going to read it. "So if you are offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift." So if somebody's bringing an offering, maybe a sin offering, maybe a Thanksgiving offering, maybe a free will offering, whatever the case may be, before you come to me, God's saying, go and take care of it with the human that you wronged. And Abimelech's doing that, and I think it would behoove us to learn from that example, right? That's the first thing. Secondly, Why does he give Abraham anything?
That's my. I tell
Because-
you what,
because-
should be the other way around.
Yeah, right? Because technically, Abraham and Sarah wronged him, really. Unless we go back and look at the word that we mentioned earlier, lakah, which is the same word used when the Pharaoh of Egypt took her and brought her to wed her. And it's another word that can be used to mean to kidnap, to forcibly take away. So that's why he has to make restitution to Abraham first, because he wronged him. Because even if he didn't know that, and he didn't know that she was his wife, even thinking that she was his sister, you don't just go and kidnap somebody's sister. You go and we'll see examples of this later. You go and in Turkey till this day, and in Arabic countries till this day, when you want to get married, the father, the would-be groom, the father, the mother, any siblings, some family friends will go to the prospective future wife-to-be's house and ask the parents for their blessing, and they'll bring gifts, and they'll settle on a dowry and this and that and the other. There's this whole negotiation that goes on between families. You don't just go and take a woman. Like, no. So that's the first thing that Abimelek has to atone for. And then the next, he has to, make it right with Sarah. But the amount, 1,000 pieces of silver, to put that in context, now we don't have any archaeological records from this time that I could have found that speaks to what the appropriate bride price would be. But a few centuries later, Hammurabi, in his famous code of laws 138 through 140, as well as the Nuzi tablets from the Hurrian culture, which is where Haran is, so where Abraham started his journey to the Promised Land from. In both sources, we see that the bride price for a commoner, and it depended on, of course, the status of the woman, the status of the bride's family, and all that good stuff. It was a political thing. But the average for a commoner woman was between 20 and 40, in some instances 50 pieces of silver. And that's a lot of money back in the day. Today it's not much. An ounce of silver ain't a whole lot comparatively. But back in the day it was a lot. So how do you go from 20, 40 to 1,000? And here's the why it's important. Because when a man is getting married, he gives the family a bride price. And then if they're getting divorced, if he's sending her back to her father's house, he gives her a bride price again. So, and that's what he's doing. He's saying, I took you to be my wife, but, it didn't work out. You are displeasing to me because you pulled this shenanigan. So I'm going to let you go back to your brother husband. Or uncle husband, whatever the case may be. And, I'm going to give you 1,000. Why 1,000? So there's no record of how much a king or a idol god would pay for. In these cultures back in the day, kings were said to marry the goddess, and they would lavish the idol with silver and gold and other gifts, and the gods were said to marry the goddesses, their counterparts, and of course they would have said to have given gold and silver to the goddess and lavished her with lavish gifts. There's no amount set, but some think that perhaps this 1,000 pieces of silver is reflective of that. So he's showing her immense respect. But, and here's the but, the word translated as vindicated or justified is one of those words with dual meanings, dual polar opposite meanings. It means to vindicate or justify, but it also means to rebuke. And that's why we see both words used in that translation. In the New King James, it just says, well, in the New King James, it also says...
That's what I've got,
okay,
the New King.
It says, thus she was rebuked. But in, let's see, the good old regular King James, again, she was reproved. So again, the same meaning. But when you go to the ESV, it says, you are vindicated. And why is that? Why do we have a word that has two polar opposite meanings, and depending on how the translators understand it, they translate it accordingly to the best of their abilities. And the question is why? And how is this possible that it's both a vindication and a justification and a rebuke or a reproof? It being such a large amount is kind of a sign like, look, I'm lavishing her, so she's guiltless in this. It's a misunderstanding. Let bygones be bygones. That's one meaning it has. But it also, because it's in effect a divorce proceeding, it means I didn't like her. She displeased me with what she did. So, be gone, woman. It has both meanings all at once. So, depending on how you want to look at it, I think we should look at both. But we work with the translations we got.
Mm-hmm.